Hey guys, so the season's over. I don't know if anyone else does this, but throughout the season, I always take a look at goal difference. I think it gives you a really good idea of where someone's going to finish up and how well they're doing. So I've put up on the screen right now, this is how it all finished. But what I'm saying is it's always worth taking a look at the order by goal difference. Now, we still get the exact same top five, but I thought what was interesting is that there was the Aston Villa controversy in the final game where they were disallowed a goal. And their argument would be that they deserved Champions League football and that they should have got it. And I think it probably was a mistake. The whistle was certainly blown too soon. Now, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I don't have anything in the game. It doesn't matter to me if Villa does well. I like Emi Martinez. He came from Arsenal. I'm absolutely fine. Obviously, their manager is our former manager. So I've got no issues with Villa. It's just that if you take a look at where they finish up based on goal difference, they really didn't deserve Champions League football. Now, again, obviously it's only goal difference, so it doesn't matter hugely. It doesn't mean anything, but it is an indication of how well they did. And if you're looking here, who got Champions League football in the end? Well, it was Chelsea and Newcastle. And I think that that's absolutely fair. They both finished on a 21 goal difference. I think they perfectly deserved fourth and fifth. So I don't have any issues there. Whereas Villa, they actually end up in ninth here. Ninth place they would have been. They actually had what it looks like is a worse season than Forest, Bournemouth and Brentford. And I think that's really interesting because Brentford came in at 10th. I've got them at 8th here. But it does make a difference. Now, if we look at the other end of the table, and I think that this is interesting as well because as an Arsenal fan, I should obviously hate Tottenham. I don't really hate Tottenham. I was actually cheering them on in the final because I thought it would be nicer for Tottenham to win something than Man U. Theoretically, both are competitors of Arsenal, but they're not really at the moment. And when Tottenham were finishing above Arsenal, I didn't really feel like Arsenal were competitors against them. So I don't buy into all of this hate that I have to have. I started watching football in the 90s when Arsenal and Man U were main two teams. Man U obviously bigger than Arsenal. So Tottenham didn't really seem like a huge competition for us then, but they finished in 17th place. So they actually finished as the worst team not to get relegated. Is that the way it works? Where are they? Yep. So that they're 17th, 20th, 19th, 18th. They changed slightly. So Ipswich and Leicester actually switched positions. I would suggest that Ipswich had a slightly better season than Leicester despite the points difference. Although it is only one goal, as you can see here. So those anomalies can happen. You could have a game in the season where there'll be 7-0 or something like that. I don't know if anyone had one of them. I can imagine one of them probably did. And that's going to throw off goal difference ever so slightly, but it doesn't matter too much. But the team that actually had maybe the worst, or at least the two teams that certainly had the worst results and the worst season that weren't relegated, in my opinion, and based on goal difference, were actually Wolves and West Ham. And I think when we talk about goal difference, I think that there's something to be said for the happiness of the supporters. If you've got a terrible goal difference, then you haven't had a good season. Now, I know that there's discussions at the moment about did Tottenham have a better season than Arsenal? Now, obviously, I'm slightly biased, so me in the comments what you think. But I would rather finish second and not get a cup than to finish 17th and get a cup. Now, Arsenal have never won the Europa League, so that would have been great for us. I would like to see it. But I watch football every single week. I watch it every weekend. I'll watch the midweek games. I'll watch games that aren't Arsenal, but I will try and watch all of Arsenal's games. If we play a game and we're terrible, that spoils my day. That spoils my weekend. That can even spoil my week. So results are important. I think that the season as a whole matters. How everybody performs over the entire season, well, that matters to me. It matters how my team does. Arsenal weren't as good this season as they had been in the last 2 seasons, but we still finished second. There were weekends that I enjoyed. Unfortunately, we had far too many draws. Look at that, it really sticks out. That's why we lost it. If we'd brought that down to 9, then we'd have been up there with Liverpool. But 14 double-digit draws, absolutely terrible, because a draw's no fun. You can have a good draw. We drew against Liverpool recently, and we were 2-0 down. To then get that point, we're the team that finishes that game happier. Now, that makes sense, but you always want to win. But so goal difference really does matter. Draws don't do anything for you. Losses will obviously bring your goal difference down, and wins will move it up. So the best 5 teams definitely got the Champions League. I'm absolutely fine there. But I think Nottingham Forest can feel a little aggrieved here that they didn't do better, but they should be proud of their season, not aggrieved. It happens. It's the way it went. You came 7th. It's fine. You missed out on Champions League. You were doing brilliantly for a while. But the fixtures can matter. It can matter who you played first, who you played last. I actually think that the fixtures for the season, that Liverpool should start their first game of the season against Arsenal. Then they should play City. Then they should play Chelsea. Then they should play Newcastle United. They should play in the order table finished. Equally, you can do that from the bottom, that the promoted and would-be 20th plays 19th. I like the idea of that because that will really throw the table off for the majority of the season. It will equal out by the end of the season, but it will be interesting. Liverpool could end up sort of in 10th after 10 games, let's say. It's a hypothetical. Whereas Arsenal might be first, but that doesn't mean anything because it's the way that the fixtures work. Now, I don't know if that messes with player morale or anything like that, but I think there's a lot that can be done to maybe make it more interesting. But this video is all about goal difference, and I've left it up on the screen. You've all had a look. It doesn't make huge changes, but again, as an Arsenal fan, Tottenham didn't finish 17th. They actually finished, well, it would be 13th because of the headers. I think that suggests that they had, well, they certainly did have, I would say, a better season than Man United. It's hard to argue with the goal differences here. 0, -1, -2. That doesn't make a huge difference. But Man United sucked. They were terrible. Man United were much worse than Tottenham. And had I looked at this properly before the league final, then it might have made me think that Tottenham should actually be the favourites. I don't know if you can read that much into it. It's not that exact. It's just an idea. But look how accurate it was. Go smallest to largest. These all work. There's anomalies here. Yeah, 5 teams, a little bit interchangeable. But like I said, and Bournemouth had maybe the better season, Brentford 2, then you got Villa and Brighton and drawing on 7. Then it's a big jump. I don't think you can argue Fulham and Palace. They're sort of the cut-off point. Let's say that Fulham and Palace had an okay season. Now, Palace won a cup. That's brilliant for them. I was cheering them on because who didn't want them to win? It's always nice for the underdogs to win. So that's great that they did it. But if you performed better, if you finished above Fulham and Palace, then you had a decent season. Now, that's actually the top 10. So the top 10 had a decent season. Anyone below that sucked. And it's pretty poor. Tottenham 17th, terrible season. I don't know why anyone would try and argue that Tottenham had a better season than Arsenal. But what I did see on Talk Sport, someone was saying they didn't have a better season, they had a more successful season. I like the language, I like the difference there. They didn't have a better season. The season, which is the entire 8 months or whatever it is, the Premier League games ran, that's your season. But did they have a better result at the end of it? Did they have a better cup run? Cup run's fine, but not season. The season is Premier League. But, like I said, the fact is, I don't think Tottenham did as badly as people make out. 17th is a terrible position, but maybe they sacrificed the last few games in order to win the Europa League, which I think is reasonable. I think Arsenal probably sacrificed the league slightly in order to try and win the Champions League, which quite fairly we didn't. I thought it was great what we did against Real Madrid, but fair enough. I think the turning point was the Partey yellow card in the Real Madrid second leg. He hadn't got that, he would have started the first leg in PSG. That would have been interesting. I would have liked to have seen that. But that's the way it goes. That's what happens. But this is my take. It's just a video talking about goal difference. I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd make a video. I've always thought it. I've always looked at it. But I only started this channel a few months ago, so I never had the opportunity to make a video about it before. But goal difference, I think it's a really good indication. And what I take from this is that Aston Villa really shouldn't be crying too much about missing out on Champions League, because they didn't deserve it. There's 3 teams above them that maybe deserved it better, though points-wise, fair enough, they did well, but they certainly didn't do as well as Chelsea and Newcastle. So there we go. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments, and if you want to see any more of my videos, then please do subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Bifties. Welcome to my exile. See you all next time.